Hello and welcome back to B6 and Beyond. With me and Cory, as always, we're here to have an international break talk because why not? Let's get some Villa content going. Right, so before we get into it, remember we have got an ongoing giveaway. Every 500 subscribers, we will be giving away either match tickets or a shirt of your choice. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a like on the video. We have a goal of 20 likes on the video. Cory, how you doing, mate?
I'm not bad, Ben. How are you, mate?
Yeah, all good. So I think it's pressing to talk about Emi Martinez and what that looks like. The plan for the episode, we're going to talk about Martinez and just see where it leads us. So obviously Emi Martinez has been named in the Villa Europa League squad, and it looks like to me, especially with him not getting a move on deadline day, it looks like he will be reintegrated to the squad. What that looks like is a questionable piece because ultimately it looks like there is fractured relationships, I would say, in the squad, in the dressing room.
Yeah.
I think Tyrone Mings' post where he's put Marco Bizot in the background and specifically chose that photo was he's done that purposely. How does reintegrating look for you? What does can he be reintegrated?
I think the important thing is, and I had a chat with my barber today actually about it, and I said he's a very lucky man that he's such a good player. If he wasn't as good as he was, as I was saying, we wouldn't really talk that much about it. We wouldn't really. It's just a typical thing of a player wanting to move. But I think ultimately he is our best goalkeeper, and I think from the standpoint of where Villa are at the moment after 3 poor performances to start the season and obviously having 0 goals scored. I know he's not the goal scorer, but we need to keep the ball out the back of the net at the other end. And don't get me wrong, I think Marco Bizot's a great number 2. I just don't see it being viable for him playing all the way to January. I think from my side of things, I'd like to see Martinez coming out and actually address the situation because that's one thing he hasn't done yet. Preferably an apology or at least a story from his side to basically say what's happened, because we know for a fact he was waiting for Man United to call. So even if it's just to come out and say, listen, I was waiting for that call, it never came, I'm fully committed to Aston Villa now for this season and I want to kick on, that'll sort of burn a few bridges. It will make it a bit easier for him. But ultimately, it's down to performances as well. He's got to come into it and say, over the last 18 months, he's not been the Emi Martinez who we know, and those performances need to up in standards if he wants to be number 1.
So first thing, I presume you mean build a few bridges rather than burn a few
That's the
bridges.
one, yeah, sorry.
And the second point is Bizot. Marco Bizot. That interview was so weird. Anyway, yeah, I don't know, mate. I think it's a really, really touchy subject, isn't it, with Martinez? And I think at the moment, I don't think his people are helping him, especially like with the comments that his brothers made in the press. It was in the press, I believe, and said he's basically. Yeah, he basically said that he is the Diego Maradona for Aston Villa. I just literally read that and I was absolutely baffled. The audacity. I'm sorry, but there should be some PR work going at the moment. They know that he's not going anywhere. They know he's going to be staying there till January at the very least. They can't be saying these things. They should be doing everything now to mitigate and control damage control effectively, and like try and repair, as you just said, heal and repair those bridges. Yeah. But at the moment, it just seems like they're doing completely the polar opposite. And you know what? Argentina played against Venezuela the other night, and every defender in their team was rated over 7, and he dropped to 6. So clearly, it shows that he's still distracted with the off-field antics of what's going on. And ultimately, he's on 150k a week. There is no way that Villa leave him on the bench, leave 150 grand goalkeeper, and just let that to burn. It won't happen. But I just think with his head the way it is and how he's feeling, clearly he doesn't want to be at the club. It's a massive risk from the football club bringing him back in. It really is, because ultimately his performance levels dropped massively from January, and after seeing and knowing what we do now about the situation, I don't know if it's the right decision to bring him back in. I personally, here's a question for you: Everton, does he start?
I think he has to, and it's a bold one. But the way Everton are playing at the moment, and with their attacking threat, with the likes of Grealish, people like that, I think it has to be something we look at and say, we need our strongest team playing in that game. And I think obviously that's where Martinez gets that bit of leeway in terms of he is the better goalkeeper. But ultimately, as you say, his brother's comments are ludicrous. The Diego Maradona of Aston Villa, comparing to him and Sergio Aguero. Martinez has won nothing at Villa. He's cost us in massive games. He cost us 2 goals against PSG over 2 legs, where if he didn't cost us them, I know it's all hypothetical, if he doesn't cost them 2 goals, we go through. The Eze goal in the FA Cup semi-final, for me, I think it's poor positioning, and I don't think it's a lot of power on the shot, but it's down the middle. A goalkeeper of his quality should be getting at least something on it, and he didn't get anything near it. And ultimately, those sort of comments, they are ludicrous. I do wonder if maybe he was one of those players who was offered a new contract. It's not been reported, but offered a new contract with lower wages, and he just thought, I'm not going on lower wages, so I'm going to try and find somewhere else. Maybe that's something that hasn't been reported. The likes of sort of Luca Digne and Tyrone Mings who took that offer. We don't know that side of things, but like you say, it's a tough one for Everton. I think it depends on the players as well. As you say, if someone like Mings is genuinely fuming with him and doesn't like him, and you can't have one of your centre-backs not having a relationship with your goalkeeper, it's not going to work. There's going to be sort of bust-ups and feuds in the changing room, which we don't need. It's a tough one. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on the Everton game. I know you sort of shook your head when I
think it's too soon myself. I think with everything going on, what has happened, I think there's a lot of repairing to do. Ultimately, Crystal Palace, he was our best available goalkeeper. We didn't play him because his head weren't in the right space, as allegedly as what Emery has put it, and he sat at Bodymore Reef instead, waiting for a phone call that never came. And I don't think his head's going to be in it. I really don't. I think there's a lot to be done for him to get back in. I think personally he'll be on the bench for 2, 3, even 4, 5 games. Who knows? Which sounds ridiculous because he still is, as you say, our best goalkeeper. But ultimately, he's got to repair those bridges. He's got to, and I don't know how he does. I just think, especially as you see all the stuff around Jacob Ramsey, how the players felt about that. That you see the stories about that he was in the dressing room saying he's basically walking around Bodymore Reef like the Johnny Big Bollocks all from January onwards. It doesn't sit well with me, mate, at all, to be honest.
No, and I think as well you have to look at it as almost similar to a Coutinho sort of thing of. And I know Coutinho wasn't the same. He didn't try and force any move. He was quite happy to stay at Villa, obviously. But he was one of those players who, on his day, was unbelievable. And I think that's what Martinez has. We know on his day, he is the best goalkeeper in the world, and there's no denying that. When he's on top form, he's one of, if not the best goalkeeper in the world. But he has to have that commitment and desire. Like you say, he wasn't in the right headspace, according to Emery. It was Emery's decision to leave him out of the squad. He wasn't in the right headspace for the Palace game, and like you say, is he going to be in the right headspace for the Everton game? Yeah, so obviously the Everton game, it's one of them where he's got to come out and show why he was the world's number one at some point, and I think if he does end up playing that game, that's what he's got to be doing for the next 4 or 5 games just to win people over again.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Especially when you hear the stories of him allegedly multiple games just threw his toys out the pram and said he's not playing. Crystal Palace game, for example, Man City game, Chelsea game, and it's not a good look, is it? Obviously, seen I believe it's Holy Trinity podcast on YouTube. He said that he's heard from reliable sources inside the Villa that was what he did prior to leading to international duty.
Well, the Brentford game where Olsen kept the clean sheet.
Yeah, I just think he's not. His ties at Villa are coming to an end. Just sadly, it didn't happen, and I think he thinks he's better than what he probably is, and the market for him was there for him to get his move, but I think he's trying to get his move a season probably too late. He is an aging goalkeeper. He's now 33 years old. If we're to get anything for him in January, you're looking at about 20 million maximum now.
I'd imagine so, yeah, especially with the performances from last season.
So 20 million, we wanted 30. No one coming for him. Man United was the one. I thought if he was going to go to anywhere, it would have been Manchester United. They needed a goalkeeper. they've obviously cut ties with Andrew Onana, who's now left the football club. They were always going to get a new goalkeeper. That Baltinder, or whatever his name is, Batinder, he's crap as well. They've obviously went and signed that Sen Lamons, I believe his name is. Martinez, where's he going? Where would he go now? Like realistically, where?
The only place I can think of in terms of in England, if that's what he wants, if it's English, the only place I genuinely think there is a chance would be maybe Chelsea.
That's exactly who I've just had in my head.
But again,
I don't rate Sanchez personally.
I'm not a fan of Sanchez, but they seem happy with him. And to be fair to Sanchez, I'll hold my hands up and say, the start to the season he's had quite a good start to the season. But like you say,
he's still quite young. Well, not young, but good
30,
age for a goalkeeper.
Yeah. But I think the thing is as well is, like you say, there's nowhere else in the Premier League he goes, especially one of the bigger clubs, where he's a number one. He's not a number one over Vicario. He's not a number one over at Man United. He's not a number one at City. He's not a number one at Arsenal. Liverpool, no. Chelsea's the only real sniff he maybe has. But again, I don't think Chelsea would want him.
I'm not. I think if he leaves next season, I think he might actually start thinking about the final payday and going to Saudi Arabia.
Potentially, I mean, the only other place I can think of, if it's European he wants, would be Atletico Madrid. Because I know there's obviously been speculation about Jan Oblak leaving at some point, and they were interested. I know they've got their Argentinian ties with Simeone and Molina and people like that.
It's not a bad shout. But then for Villa, it's now got to a point then, who do we bring in now? Because the young goalkeepers that we were looking at have all got clubs now. Sadly, we missed Joan Garcia and we missed Chevalier, who went to PSG, because we couldn't shift Emi Martinez.
Apparently, we're still in the market for Diogo Costa, so that will be something we look at in the summer. By the looks of it, I think Martinez is here for the season now. I think Villa have basically said we're not going to get rid of him in January, because I think trying to sign a goalkeeper in January is going to be difficult, and it doesn't give us a lot of time to integrate him into the squad and teach him the ways we want to play. So I imagine it will be a case of we have him for the season, and as you say, he either steps up this season and wins everyone over, and we can say, right, go and get that move that you want, or he wins us all over, starts performing at his best again and says, listen, I'm really sorry, I've made a mistake, I want to stay at Villa, and we keep him again for another 4 or 5 years, however long he decides.
Right, I think that's enough on Emi Martinez. I think we've kind of covered all bases, unless you've got anything more you want to go through.
No, I think that's it on him, really.
Did you catch much of the England game tonight?
I saw the second half. The second half was
shite, man.
It's really lacklustre. I mean, obviously, listen. I mean, we call for managers' heads all the time, and I do think. Listen, I was probably one of those people who wanted Southgate gone, but I do think Southgate probably gave us. Well, he gave me definitely some of the best years of my life with England, and probably yourself as well, Ben. But it just, I don't know what it is. Like, obviously, I know Tuchel's been doing his interviews and say, I don't know whether it's the players just aren't receptive to him or what. Because he said himself, he said, like, the June fixtures, he knows it was lacklustre, but it was end of the season, between the Club World Cup, that sort of thing. But he expected a performance today, and it was just poor all throughout. I mean, Eze didn't look great. As I say, I only watched the second half, so Eze didn't look great. Anthony Gordon didn't look great. Rodgers didn't really have much chance when he was on. Madueke tried to make things happen, but no end product, really. Harry Kane was a statue again. I don't really know where we go from there as England.
It's a weird one with Harry Kane, because he's our best striker, but I just don't think sometimes he suits how we play, which sounds ridiculous. It really does sound ridiculous, because you just need to put the ball on a plate for him and he's going to put them away 9 times out of 10. But it's just, I feel with again, actually, I'm just not even going to talk, because it's absolute bollocks. It just doesn't make sense, because if you look at the team that he plays with Bayern Munich, he plays with, like, you know, Elise, Luis Diaz, players like that, and Jamal Musiala, sorry, they're similar sort of players in stylistic ways. There's what we've got for England. So the fact it's not working, it's It's got literally. If you had question marks all around my head right now, like it would fit because I can't suss it.
Do you know what I think it is? And it's controversial to say, but I think what's happened is when he was under Southgate, Kane was told to drop deep into midfield, come and collect the ball, that sort of thing. It's the exact same thing he gets asked to do at Bayern. He collects the ball, he can play those passes out wide, gets himself back into the box for Elise and Diaz to get those crosses in. And it's been the same way that he's played the last few years with Gnabry and Sane being there as well. Now, when Tuchel's come in, I think Tuchel's said to him, "You're the target man, you stay up top." And that doesn't help Kane at all because it means that when people are overlapping, they either need to be going through on goal or he's not in a position where he can then get into the box. But I do think as well, I think sometimes he naturally drifts back because of the way he plays for Bayern, which hinders the 10s, for example. Like there was a couple of times, obviously, I was watching Morgan Rogers because being a Villa player, he was playing in the 10. And there was a couple of times where I saw Rogers sort of moving into space and Harry Kane stood right on his shoulder. And it's like, if Rogers does pick up the ball there, where does he go from there? Yeah, like Kane stood on his shoulder. He can't offload it to him. He can't go out wide because neither of them are going to be in the box and find that. And I think that's what it comes down to ultimately. I feel like I don't think we've outgrown Kane. I think if Tuchel wants to play this way, we've outgrown him, and that's where you need to be biased, I know, but giving the likes of Watkins that chance, who's going to do the running in behind. And listen, I know
Watkins deserves it, to be honest with you, the way he started.
This is the thing, I was just about to say, I don't think he deserves that chance, but that's sort of the player we need if that's the way we're going to play. I mean, you look at the goal against the Netherlands, and I know that was obviously Southgate, but that was something different, something that Kane wasn't offering. Solanke as well can potentially do it. I'm trying to think who else we've got striker-wise. We're not exactly blessed with strikers. I don't think Liam Delap's ever going to be England quality, to be honest.
I like him,
Liam Delap. I really don't rate him as a footballer.
Right, let's move on from England because if carry on talking about England, I'm in my kitchen at the moment and there's knives really close to me, so I will probably get. I'm not even joking.
Asleep.
Yeah, it's horrendous. Right, so that's Villa. How do you see him going balls deep and putting Sancho and Harvey Elliott straight into the side against Everton? Because I don't, because that isn't Unai Emery, and as much as that really, really grinds my gears, because how can you go and spend, example, 25 million on Evan Gesson, 25 million on Daniel Marlon, these deals to bring in Elliott and Sancho's on mega wages, and he'll just keep them on the bench for about 4 games until they learn Emery's style of play. These are in top players that have played, like Sancho's played at international level. Both of them have played Champions League level. Harvey Elliott has won the Premier League. Harvey Elliott has won the Champions League. You should be bedding these players in.
I think personally, if I'm honest, I do see one of them starting against Everton. I think this is a bit of a different situation when they've come in just before the international break. So those 2 lads not going on international duty. Emery's got these 2 weeks with them. So he's going to be able to see their work ethic and stuff like that. I think if anybody's going to start, I imagine I'd like to say Harvey Elliott because I think he's the better player, but I do see it being Sancho, to be honest, out of the 2, just because I think that's where we're lacking the most, is sort of out on that wing. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to slander Gesson. He's a new player, but I think in that first half against Palace, he looked lost at times. And I think he's someone who probably does need a bit of time to integrate in, whereas Sancho's obviously played in the Premier League for years. The same with Harvey Elliott. He's played since he was 17, I believe it was, maybe 16.
Yeah, it's a rough start for Evan Gesson one. He did remind me a bit of Bambi on ice at times, to be honest with you. He just kept falling over. I can't judge him at the moment. Well, let's give him some time. He's still he's at 24. He's just come into a new league. It might not work for him straight away. And to be fair, it's a good job that we have signed the 2 players that we have, because it gives us reinforcement in that area so he can have more of a slower integration into the squad.
I guess the question is as well, though, Ben, is where do you see these new lads playing? Do we see Harvey Elliott playing out on the right? Do we see him playing more centrally and shifting Morgan Rogers out? Do we see Sancho playing on the left or the right? Gesson's obviously, we know he can play anywhere across the 4, so we could potentially see a shift where because Sancho and Harvey Elliott have come in, Gesson now plays second striker to Watkins, so he can come on and do what Duran did for a few games, that sort of thing.
To be honest, I think it doesn't need to be as simple as you playing here, you're playing there. I think there needs to be some fluidity into it. Like ultimately, these are all top level footballers, and Morgan Rogers can play off the right, he can play off the left, he can play centrally. Harvey Elliott can play off the right, he can play centrally. I'm pretty sure if he drifted out to the left, he could do a job. Jadon Sancho, likewise, could fill in every single one of those roles. So for me, they need to have that freedom to move around and express themselves and cause opposition teams problems, give their fullback something different to think about. Personally, if I was to say how they're going to line up straight away, I think it will either be Elliott off the right, Rogers at 10, and Sancho off the left as the inside 10, or it will be Rogers off the left as a left 10 with Elliott centrally and then Sancho right wing. Because Sancho can play that, he can play that role. It really depends on Emery, and I also think it gives us scope to change how we set up tactically. So obviously we occasionally at times used to play a centre back at right back in games where we were up against different, more, should we say, challenging teams. I think this now gives us the functionality to play Pau Torres at left back, with Tyrone Mings and Ezri Konsa, and then Matty Cash, with Matty Cash pushing high, and then Jadon Sancho as that out-and-out left winger, who is high and wide on the left. And when we are in transition, we go to a back three of Pau, Mings and Konsa, with Tielemans and Kamara ahead of them. And then that sort of formation, how we have lined up, like previously, we used to have obviously Luca Dean high and wide on the left with Rogers or Ramsey as the inside 10, and then the right winger was Leon Bailey high and wide. I just think this gives us that opportunity to work that different dimensioning.
Yeah, I think as well, like you've touched on it there, I think some of the best football that Villa have played over the last few years has been when, for example, last year with Asensio and Rashford, they didn't stick to certain positions. It was sometimes Rashford would pick the ball up in the middle and play it out wide to Asensio. Sometimes Asensio was picking the ball up in the middle or out on the right and playing it into Rogers. And that's something that we definitely need, that fluidity. I think I saw someone earlier actually, and they made a very good point. The best Matty Cash has ever played for Villa was when he was under Steven Gerrard, and that was because he was playing a lot higher forward. I don't think Matty Cash is a defender necessarily. He'll throw himself about, don't get me wrong, but he's definitely more of an attacking threat, I'd say. And obviously scored that goal for Poland, which he needs to start doing for Villa. And like you say, I think we do have those options. The same with Maatsen. I don't think Maatsen's the best defender. I think he's great going forward, but he's not the best defender. So, as you say, if you put Powell there and let Cash go forward, or if you do Konza on the right and let Maatsen go forward in games, I think it's definitely something that needs to be looked at and potentially a change.
Yeah, I'm excited for the season to start. I just got a notification on my phone and I clicked on it to have a look at it. And there's a post on Twitter, and basically it's of I thought it's quite funny to mention this. And the guy said, Villa Park can never be a world-class venue until they sort this shit out. This was 5 minutes before the end of the game too, and it is literally just queues and queues of people all down the road at the Whitton train station. And it just made me laugh because I've also seen people throughout the evening slating people leaving Villa Park early.
Yeah.
Welcome to the reality of being an Aston Villa fan, and the train links from Villa, they're absolutely awful. And that is the reason why the Whitton train station is going to be getting regenerated as part of the North Stand project.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that just made me laugh. I just thought I'd mention that. So, the big thing for Villa now, moving forward, really, we have to work on our revenue streams, which that kind of touches into this. We won't go too far into this because I think we could talk about this for ages. But we need to improve that, and obviously the North Stand being regenerated is one of those things. But we have to work on our sponsorships and all that, and engaging and making sure that our sponsors are paying top whack, because otherwise we're going to just be in this financial mess for years and years to come, and you just can't compete. The rules have absolutely shit all over us this summer, haven't they?
They haven't. I think that's the thing. I can't remember if we touched on it actually on our transfer special that we did. I mean, one of the rules that came out, it's just mind blowing to me. The William Asula deal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not fussed about us signing William Asula or not. That's no disrespect to him as a player. I just don't think it would have worked out at Villa, especially not for the money. But the fact that we're being told we can't sign him because it's seen as a straight swap for a deal that happened 3 weeks prior in the window. How does that make any sense? And then you've got people like Ben Chilwell going off to Strasbourg, and you've got people like Julio Enciso and the other one, I can't remember his name, but Buonanotte. They've joined Chelsea and joined Blueco and all this, and Buonanotte's not been included in the Chelsea squad for Champions League and stuff like that. And it's just like, how are we supposed to compete when teams are allowed to do that and we can't sign a player from a different team because it's seen as swapping players?
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it? Talking about not being selected for a European squad, what do you think of Ross Barkley not being selected for Villa's Europa League squad?
I think it's a good decision. I mean, personally for me, we've spoke about this, I love Ross Barkley as a professional, but ultimately he's injured all the time as well. So it's that thing of, I'd much rather have him in the Premier League games when it comes to down and dirty getting those 3 points and he's fit in them games than him running himself ragged, getting injured, and then we don't have him for either tournament and you've lost a player there when you could have had... I mean, I know Lamar Bogart's in the B list because he's obviously hit a certain criteria where he's homegrown and he's obviously younger. But I don't mind it. I think, like we say, he's an aging player, Barkley. He's an experienced player, but with his injury record, there's no point him playing 50-odd games against it this season, potentially if we do get to the final or go far in Europa League, and getting injured 2 weeks into it and missing half the season.
Right, I think... on that note, I think we should let's wrap it up, mate. I think we've spoke about quite a lot here. We've done nearly half an hour. So, yeah, Villa fans, if you've enjoyed... Well, not just Villa fans, if you've been watching this and you've enjoyed the podcast, make sure to tap a like on the video. We have a target of hitting 20 likes on the video. Finally, from me and Cory, one last thing. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.